There were quite a number of barristers in those days who ended up becoming well-known politicians, and of course I'm alluding to people like Gough Whitlam and Ted St John QC and Tom Hughes QC. These were all people who went into politics, and I know you yourself had a great interest in politics, but you never went so far as to actually enter politics yourself.
No.
What do you think was common to those barristers who went into politics? What do you think was that extra burning zeal in them that made them want to jump away from a life in the law to a life to the cut and thrust of politics?
I suppose it would vary with individuals, but to try and look for a common bond, I think they probably had an altruistic view that they wanted to do something for the law and the country. One can't, I suppose, put aside the personal advancement as well. But in most of those cases, they would have been making a big sacrifice for the parliamentary salaries are so small and the time spent is so great if you're doing it properly that I could only attribute to that they had proper motives. And
do you think
one parliament needs people of that calibre? People are prepared to make sacrifices. The same happens to Garfield Barwick. He came very lately, of course, into politics. He's established council, but when Gough went into politics, he was only quite a junior. I think he graduated about 1947 or 8, I think, and he was in politics in the 50s. And Tom Hughes much as well.
Yes.
Tom came a little later. Yes.
Yes. Was the law's loss politics' gain?
I think it was in a way, although Tom tried to do both not as a minister but as a member, and he did often appear before me when he was a member. He'd come back to Sydney and do a civil case and fly back to Canberra either at night time or if necessary for party matters, and back to Sydney again. So he's a good commuter.
Yes. Contrasting those people, Gough Whitlam, Ted St John QC and Tom Hughes QC, with today's politicians, do you think maybe that a number of politicians would benefit from perhaps careers as barristers or careers in the law? I mean, many, of course, are in fact lawyers, I know, but maybe would have benefited from a career as advocates before entering politics.
I think that's probably true. There are a few who have done that in recent times here. I always conscious of the fact that the general cry is that sometimes too many legal people in Parliament, but I think you would need a special number of them with some critical experience to at least to adjudicate upon the proposed legislation.
Yes.
And, although, on the other hand, if you come too late, you don't have that particular expertise as a politician. I mean, Gough Whitlam was perhaps had the advantage of going into politics early. He learnt what I would call the trade. He learnt the rules of Parliament and the other shortcuts that exist, whereas Sir Garfield came at a late age and he was made to appear inadequate in some ways because he's pitted against members of Parliament like Eddie Ward, who were ruthless, had been in politics all their lives and knew every so-called trick of the trade. And I felt Sir Garfield would have been a better politician if he'd gone a little bit earlier.
What about yourself, though? You didn't want to take that actual step, did you? Although you did have a great interest in politics.
Oh, we have been interested in politics and still am.
Yes.
In a political sense.